Today we're going to rebuild this Suntour LePree. This also applies to the Suntour XC, the first gen one. As you can tell, our Suntour LePree grew a third leg. I've always wanted one of these derailleurs. They're awesome, super cool. So yeah, let's go. And some tools you're going to need are a screwdriver, a pick, some pliers, and some Allen keys. And this bolt's gonna annoy me, so I'm just gonna push it out right now just to get it out of the way. And there's also a tiny little washer here. You wanna make sure you don't lose that. I mean, if you do, it's not gonna make that big of a deal. All right, now time to service the B-knuckle spring. Just pull the cage back like this. Check out that sound too. It's like brand new. And grab your screwdriver and unscrew this little pin. Now let it spring back, kind of lift up the parallelogram as to if you don't want to scratch your cage. And grab your 6mm and pop it loose. And it just comes off like that. And if this bolt is kind of stuck here, we're just going to push it out with our pick. We also have this tiny wedge here. It's usually positioned right here in this little slot, and the spring goes on top of it like that, and you usually have to take it out before this whole thing comes apart. This thing came off kind of weirdly, so yeah, that's how it comes apart. And you usually want to put it in a magnetic tray, because you will lose it, I guarantee it, and it's kind of important. So yeah, there you go. Now the reason you're wondering, why didn't I take off this pulley, why didn't I unscrew this nut? This nut is very shallow, as you can tell. It's very hard to get a wrench on that. I've been trying to do it for a very long time, and it just keeps tripping. I try to wrench, I try to socket everything. So what you want to do is you want to grab these two cages, and you want to unscrew one of them. And that will loosen up this nut on its own. You don't need no wrenches, no anything. It'll just loosen up due to the friction, and then you just unscrew it by hand. So hopefully this works for you. I would try doing this. I would try unscrewing it with a wrench first, obviously, and then use this method to pop it loose. Hopefully it works. Good luck to you. There you go. She comes off. And that thing shoots out as well. And yeah, then this shaft just pops out and it has a seal on it as well. There you go. All right, so now we've got everything all nice and taken apart. Now it's time to clean. This you can use a cleaner or degreaser, like brake cleaner, alcohol, acetone, or some kind of other degreaser, just whatever works for you. We have some rust here as well, as you can tell. You can use some aluminum foil and water if it's chrome, or you can use like a steel brush. This also works great for pulleys when they have a lot of dirt caked up on them. So yeah, there you go. And in my case, I'm using this ultrasonic cleaner. All I'm using is water and dish soap. All right, now we got everything all nice and cleaned down. For some of the chrome parts, like the bolts here, I used this quick glow stuff. And for the aluminum, like the cage, I used some Mothers. Usually I do the body later because it gets all greasy when I'm putting it together. And also had a bloody nose, but just don't worry about it. And yeah, another thing you're gonna need for the assembly is some grease. There you go. All right, first thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna put in the P-bolt. Pretty easy, just grease it up. Make sure you got your washer right there, the thin one. Put some grease on the inside of here and just pop it in. There you go. And now moving on to the B-spring here. I like to use like a tube of grease like this, so I can push the grease inside of here. Makes it a lot easier to pack it in. And there you go. That'll stop it from rusting, and I don't know. All right, next thing you want to do, you want to make sure there's a little bit of grease in that wedge area where this part goes in. So yeah, grab that, make sure this is clean. Slide it right in like that. And now you want to just get some grease on the edge of this little shaft area right here, and grab your plastic seal and pop it on. Make sure you got it on the right way, like so. All right, now we have our little wedge. As you can see, it has two little fins on the ends right here. You want to have the part that does not have the fins to go in first. We already have some grease in there, so we can pop it in. This just makes the threads so they don't collapse in on each other, and if you don't have one of these, the shaft is more likely to strip when you put that nut on, and it just makes everything a lot more difficult. So yeah, make sure you don't lose this, and if you don't have it, just don't tighten down your nut very much. So yeah. All right, now we got our wedge in here, and you want to make sure it's flush all the way down with that shaft. So just push it down and make sure it's flush, just like that. All right, now time to put the bolt in. Pretty easy. All you do is you have our plastic seal here. We have that washer on there as well. You want to grease up under the washer. You want to grease right here where it goes in. So just go ahead, pop that plastic seal in. There you go. Then you have your bolt. You want to grease that up as well and pop it in. All right, now once you got this bolt on, again, you don't have to screw it on all the way yet. And this is just to keep this all in place. Now we have our cage, and now we have several options of how tight do you want it. As you probably know, there's this little pinhole, and that has a stopper that goes against that ridge right there. So we're all going to base it off of that. We're going to see how many degrees you want it out. So if you put it right here, that's going to be 360 out right here. In this position, there's as a hex pattern, so you want to match it up with the shaft right there. I usually like going 180 degrees out, which means I'll have to put it right here, and then I'll have to rotate it counterclockwise 180 degrees all the way around to put in the pin where it goes. I recommend this if you want to put a little bit more tension. You can go like 270 or whatever. But yeah, I recommend around 180. That's what I usually do on most of these old Suntour derailleurs. And yeah, there you go. And before you do that, just make sure you grease up this plastic slider thing. Again, this slides right on this, so you want it to be nice and smooth. Yeah, just match it up like this. Make sure they mesh together. Make sure it goes all the way down like that. Then grab it and turn it counterclockwise, however much you want. Again, I'm doing 180. That's kind of what is standard on these derailleurs. And yeah, pop it like that. And now you can go ahead and screw in your pin. All right, now grab your pin and screw it in. And now once the cage is on, it's going to be held on by friction. Well, this could come off in theory, so just kind of don't play around with it too much. And yeah, tighten down this bolt. Should be a lot easier to tighten now. Just tighten it snug. You don't need it too tight. And yeah, make sure it moves nice and smooth. There you go. All right, now time for the pulleys. First thing you want to do, you want to grease up the inside of the plastic part right here. Then you want to grab your steel bushing. You want to grease up the inside of there with some grease. Join the two together like so. And then grab two of your seals and pop them on. There you go. And now I also like to grease up the shaft here just to make it extra smooth. Also, I have two 10-tooth pulleys and one 9-tooth pulley. This one goes on the end here. Not all LePrees are like this. I think they have different combinations. So let me know what you have. But yeah, we're putting the 9-tooth one down here. There you go, and just pop it on. And now grab your cage. You want to have the part that doesn't have threads on it right here. You want to have that or like so, and then you want to grab your little 10mm nut and screw it on. All right, and a little hack for this nut again, you don't need this very tight, but to tighten it, it's very easy to strip this because it's a very shallow nut. So what you do, you have the cage about 45 degrees away from where you want it. You want to just get it finger tight. You want to just tighten down as much as you can, and then you just grab your cage. And you see as I move the cage, the nut tightens with it because of the friction it has against it. And then just tighten it until these line up, and then you just have that nice and good, nice and snug. Make sure the pulley spins nice and smooth, and you should be all good to go. All right, and same exact story for the other two pulleys. Yeah, just grease them up, make sure they spin nice and good. And remember the one up here, we also had a washer on top of it here. These vary from derailleur to derailleur. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't, but I'm just putting it back where it is. And how to test it, if you have one of the pulleys rubbing against the cage, you just grab a washer and put it under there. And yeah, same thing for the other pulley. Just tighten down these bolts, make sure they're nice and snug, make sure the pulleys spin nice and smooth. All right, now time for the clamp bolt. You want to grab your clamp stud thingy and you want to pop it in like so. You want to have that flat part facing, facing up like this. And you want to just hold it because it's going to fall out, I guarantee it. And grab your washer, slide it on, and your little nut right here. So yeah, just screw on that clamp bolt, put on this barrel adjuster to grease it up a little bit. Also polished up the parallelogram a little bit, nice and good. Lubed up the pivots with some chain oil and put some grease on those springs in there, like so. Just keep them from rusting. And yeah, there you go. Now you got yourself a fully rebuilt derailleur. It's one of those things that, you know, just puts a smile on your face. It's one of the coolest derailleurs ever, in my opinion. I love it. It's really awesome. I can't wait to put it on a bike that it doesn't belong on. The reason they did this is to accommodate a larger rear cog. Obviously, nowadays we just have bigger pulleys, but this is obviously way cooler. Anyway, I hope this video helped you out in some way. Again, this applies to the XC as well, and I'll see you guys again. Bye.